The phone slipped from Amani Wanjiru's trembling fingers, clattering against the marble kitchen counter. 3 words glowed on the screen, each one a death sentence: "I'm outside. Buzz me up." Her heart hammered against her ribs as she stared at the intercom panel by her apartment door. This couldn't be happening. Not him. Not now. The text she'd sent 20 minutes ago, the desperate, humiliating text meant for Marcus, had gone to the one person in all of Busan she'd vowed never to contact. The man whose business card she'd saved as "Do Not Answer, Kim," 3 months ago. The man whose eyes had made her blood run cold at the Paradise Hotel wedding. Kim Joon-woo. The ghost of Busan's underworld. The intercom buzzed, sharp and insistent. Once. Twice. A third time that felt like a knife dragging across her spine. Amani forced her legs to move, each step toward the door feeling like walking through wet concrete. She pressed the button with a shaking finger. The screen flickered to life, revealing a face that belonged in nightmares and fever dreams. Sharp cheekbones. Eyes like black ice. 2 massive men flanking him like shadows. "Miss Wanjiru," his voice crackled through the speaker, smooth as expensive whiskey and twice as dangerous. "We should talk about your timing." She closed her eyes, sucked in a breath, and made a choice. Fear wouldn't save her now. She'd survived Kibera slums. She'd built a business from nothing in a foreign country. She'd stared down bridezillas and demanding chaebol. She could face this. Amani buzzed him up. The knock came exactly 90 seconds later, 3 precise raps that somehow conveyed both patience and inevitability. She opened the door to find Kim Joon-woo filling her doorway, dressed in all black like he was attending a funeral. Maybe hers. "You're shorter than I remembered," she said, because apparently her mouth had disconnected from her brain's survival instincts. One corner of his mouth twitched. Not quite a smile. More like the ghost of amusement haunting a face that had forgotten how. "You're exactly as reckless as I remembered. May I come in? Do I have a choice?" "There's always a choice, Miss Wanjiru. That's what makes life interesting." He gestured to his bodyguards. "Wait in the car." The 2 men exchanged glances but obeyed without question, disappearing down the hallway like smoke. Joon-woo stepped inside, and suddenly Amani's spacious apartment felt like a shoebox. He moved through her space with the casual confidence of someone who owned everything he looked at, his gaze cataloging details: the Kenyan fabric draped over her couch, the half-empty wine bottle on the counter, the wedding magazines scattered across her coffee table. "Nice place," he said. "Houndy District. Ocean view. You've done well for yourself since moving here from Nairobi 4 years ago." Ice flooded her veins. "How do you know that?" He turned to face her fully, and the intensity in his eyes pinned her in place. "I know quite a bit about you, Amani Wanjiru. 28 years old. Grew up in Kibera. Built your wedding planning business from a single ceremony to the most sought-after events company in Busan. Fluent in Korean, English, and Swahili. Prefers matcha lattes to coffee despite being Kenyan. Has a boyfriend who hasn't been home in 4 days." The last words landed like a punch to her solar plexus. "Marcus is just busy with. Marcus Osei is cheating on you." Joon-woo pulled out his phone, tapped the screen twice, and held it up. The photos made Amani's world tilt sideways. Marcus, her Marcus, with his arm around a beautiful Korean woman. Marcus kissing her outside a restaurant Amani recognized, the expensive one in Centum City he claimed he couldn't afford. Marcus, in what looked like a jewelry store, examining rings. "Her name is Han Yun-hee," Joon-woo continued, his voice clinically detached. "Daughter of Councilman Han. They've been together for 7 months. He plans to propose next Friday at the Moontan Road Seafood Restaurant. He's been using his business trips to Seoul as cover." Amani's knees buckled. She caught herself against the counter, fingers gripping the edge until her knuckles went white. 7 months. While she'd been planning their future, choosing paint colors for their someday house, tracking her cycle on that stupid app, Marcus had been building a completely different life. Why? The word came out broken. Why are you telling me this? Joon-woo pocketed his phone and took a step closer. Then another. He stopped just inside her personal space, close enough that she could smell his cologne, something dark and expensive that probably cost more than her monthly rent. 3 months ago, you looked me in the eye, he said quietly. Do you have any idea how rare that is? Most people can't hold my gaze for more than a second before their survival instincts kick in. But you, he paused, something flickering across his face too quickly to name. You looked at me like I was human. Then you demanded I spare that server who spilled champagne on me. Not begged. Demanded. I didn't know who you were. Exactly. A sound escaped him that might have been a laugh in another life. You treated me like a person instead of a monster. I haven't been able to stop thinking about it. About you. Amani's pulse thundered in her ears. This was insane. This man, this dangerous, terrifying man, was standing in her apartment confessing that he'd been obsessed with her for 3 months. And she just accidentally sent him a text about ovulation. I saved your number as, do not answer, she said, because apparently her brain-to-mouth filter had completely disintegrated. I never wanted to see you again. And yet here I am. Fate has a sense of humor. He tilted his head, studying her like she was a puzzle he was determined to solve. That text was meant for the man who's been lying to you for 7 months. The man who's planning a future with someone else while keeping you waiting at home, checking your fertility app. Tell me, Amani, why him and not me? Because she stopped, searching for words that wouldn't get her killed. Dangerous, he supplied. A criminal. The monster parents warn their children about. He stepped back, giving her room to breathe. All true. But I've never lied to you. I never will. And I would never make you wait by a phone, wondering if you matter. The sincerity in his voice felt like a hook in her chest, tugging at something she didn't want to acknowledge. This was wrong. All of it. She should be calling the police, not feeling her resolve crack under the weight of his attention. I can make him disappear, Joon-woo said, his tone shifting to something harder. Marcus. Yun-hee. Both of them. By sunrise, they'll be nothing but a memory. Say the word. No. The word came out sharp and immediate. Absolutely not. I don't solve my problems with violence, and I won't let you do it on my behalf. That's not who I am. Something shifted in his expression, surprise, maybe, or respect. You have a moral compass even when you're hurting. That's rare in my world. I'm not part of your world. Aren't you? He moved toward the door, then paused with his hand on the handle. By morning, Marcus's belongings will be removed from this apartment. No blood. No violence. Just, gone. He doesn't deserve access to you anymore. He pulled out a business card, different from the first one, and set it on her entry table. This is my personal number. No conditions. No obligations. But if you want to talk, to yell, to simply not be alone, call me. Why would I ever call you? He turned back, and for just a moment, his carefully constructed mask slipped. What she saw underneath made her breath catch, loneliness so vast and deep it had its own gravity, pulling at everything around it. Because maybe, he said softly, we both know what it's like to be invisible while standing in plain sight. Then he was gone, the door clicking shut with a finality that echoed through her apartment. Amani stood frozen for a full minute before her legs gave out completely. She slid down the kitchen cabinets until she was sitting on the cold tile floor, arms wrapped around her knees, trying to process what had just happened. Kim Joon-woo, the man whose name made seasoned criminals flinch, had been in her apartment. Had told her about Marcus's betrayal. Had offered to kill for her. Had looked at her like she was something precious and breakable. And God help her, some traitorous part of her chest had warmed under that gaze. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number: "Sleep well, Amani. Tomorrow will be better." She should block the number. Should pack a bag and leave Busan entirely. Should do literally anything except what she did, which was save the contact under a new name, June. That night, Amani didn't sleep. She sat on her couch, watching the city lights shimmer across Houndy Beach, and waited for morning. When dawn broke, Marcus's things were gone. Every trace of him, his toothbrush, his spare clothes, the ugly painting his mother had given them, even the smell of his cologne, erased as if he'd never existed. In their place on the kitchen counter sat a single white envelope. Inside, a note in elegant handwriting: "You deserve better. Always have. J." And beneath it, information about Marcus's financial situation. Bank statements showing he'd been paying for Yunhee's apartment. Credit card receipts from couples' trips to Jeju Island while he told Amani he was in Seoul. Even a copy of the lease he'd signed for a larger place in Centum City, dated to start next month. Amani read every page, numbness spreading through her chest like frost. 2 years. She'd given Marcus 2 years of her life, and he'd spent at least 7 months treating her like a convenient placeholder. Her phone buzzed. Another text from June: "Are you alright?" The question was so unexpected, so genuinely concerned, that Amani found herself typing back before she could stop herself: "Not really. But I will be." 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Finally: "Have dinner with me. No expectations. Just company. If you want." She stared at the message for a long moment, every rational cell in her brain screaming that this was a terrible idea. Kim Joon-woo was dangerous. Criminal. The kind of man who made people disappear with a phone call. Getting involved with him was like juggling chainsaws blindfolded over a pit of snakes. But he'd also been right about Marcus. Had treated her with more honesty in one night than Marcus had in 2 years. And there was something in his loneliness that resonated with the hollow ache in her chest. "Where?" she typed. "Your choice. Anywhere in Busan." Amani thought about it, then made a decision that felt both reckless and exactly right: Mama Nairobi Kitchen. Nampodong. 7 p.m. If you're late, I'm leaving. I'm never late. If you're already hooked by Amani and June's dangerous chemistry, hit that subscribe button because things are about to get even more intense. Drop a comment telling me if you think Amani should run or stay. I want to know what you'd do in her shoes. Mama Nairobi Kitchen was everything expensive restaurants weren't: small, loud, filled with the smell of properly spiced food and the sound of Swahili mixing with Korean in the air. Amani had chosen it deliberately. If Joon-woo wanted to see her, he could do it on her terms, in a place that reminded her who she was before Korea, before Marcus, before accidentally texting a crime lord. She arrived at 6:55 p.m., wearing jeans and a simple green blouse, nothing fancy, nothing that suggested this was a date. Because it wasn't. It was just dinner. With a man who terrified and intrigued her in equal measure. Joon-woo walked through the door at exactly 7 p.m., and every conversation in the restaurant stopped. He was dressed in dark slacks and a black button-down that probably cost more than the entire restaurant's monthly rent, his hair styled perfectly, moving with the kind of controlled grace that came from always being the most dangerous person in any room. He spotted her immediately, and his expression softened in a way that made her stomach flip. "You came," she said as he slid into the seat across from her. "I said I would." He glanced around the restaurant, taking in the colorful Kenyan fabrics on the walls, the sound of Afrobeat music, the curious stares from other diners. "I've never been here before." "I know. That's why I chose it." Amani signaled the waiter, a cheerful Kenyan woman named Wanjiku who'd become a friend over the past year. "We'll have the Nyama Choma platter, ugali, sukuma wiki, and 2 tuskers." Joon-woo waited until Won-jiku left before speaking. You ordered for me. Yes. Problem? No one orders for me. Well, I just did. You'll survive. She leaned back in her chair, studying him. In the warm, casual lighting of the restaurant, he looked different. Less like a walking nightmare and more like a man. Still dangerous, that never left his eyes, but human. Real. Tell me something. What would you like to know? Why were you really at that wedding 3 months ago? Paradise Hotel weddings cost a fortune. You didn't seem like someone who enjoys watching strangers get married. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. The groom was a business associate. His father asked me to attend as a show of support. I don't usually go to these things, but... He paused. I was curious about the legendary event planner who transformed Paradise Hotel into something that looked like a page from a fairy tale book. Everyone said you were brilliant. Worth the price. And what did you think when you saw me? That they were right. And that you looked tired. Like you were making everyone else's dreams come true while forgetting your own. The observation cut deeper than Amani expected. She swallowed hard, grateful when Won-jiku returned with their beers. They drank in silence for a moment, the comfortable kind that didn't need filling. My parents died when I was 12, Joon-woo said suddenly, his voice low enough that only she could hear. Gang violence. Wrong place, wrong time. I spent the next 6 years in various foster homes until I aged out of the system. By then, I'd learned that the world doesn't care about orphans or fairness or dreams. It cares about power. Amani's chest tightened. So you took power. I joined the gang that killed my parents. Worked my way up. Learned everything they knew. And then, when I was strong enough, I destroyed them from the inside. His eyes met hers, dark and unflinching. I built my organization on the ashes of the people who took everything from me. I'm not a good man, Amani. I've done things that would make you run screaming. But I've never pretended to be anything I'm not. The food arrived before she could respond, plates of perfectly grilled goat meat, steaming ugali, and greens that smelled like home. Joon-woo stared at the food like it was a puzzle. You've never had ugali? Amani asked. I've never had Kenyan food period. Then you're in for an experience. She demonstrated, tearing off a piece of ugali and using it to scoop up meat and vegetables. Like this. Use your hands. It's supposed to be communal, intimate. Food that brings people together. He mimicked her movements, awkward at first but learning quickly. When he took his first bite, surprise flickered across his face. This is good. Exceptional. He took another bite, then another, and Amani felt something warm bloom in her chest at the sight of this feared crime lord eating with his hands like he'd been doing it his whole life. They ate in comfortable silence for a while before Amani spoke. I grew up in Kibra. Do you know what that is? One of the largest slums in Africa. The largest. My mother cleaned houses for wealthy families in Nairobi. My father died before I was born, I never knew him. We lived in a shack made of corrugated metal that flooded every time it rained. I went to school barefoot because we couldn't afford shoes. I watched friends die from preventable diseases, saw girls my age sold into prostitution because their families needed money. She met his gaze head-on. I swore I'd get out. I studied until my eyes bled. Won a scholarship to university. Learned Korean because I heard there were opportunities here. Moved to Busan with nothing but a suitcase and a dream. And you built an empire, Joon-woo said softly. A business. Not an empire. What's the difference? Empires require stepping on people to rise. I lifted people as I climbed. He set down his beer, his expression intense. You've never told anyone this, have you? Not even Marcus. No. The admission felt raw, vulnerable. Marcus wanted the successful version of me. The polished event planner who spoke perfect Korean and wore designer dresses. He never asked about where I came from. I'm asking. Those two words cracked something open in Amani's chest. For the next hour, she told him everything. About the nights she went to bed hungry. About watching her mother work herself to exhaustion. About the guilt of leaving when so many couldn't. About the nightmares that still woke her up, dreams of rusted metal and muddy water and the sound of her mother's cough that never quite went away. And Joon-woo listened. Not with the polite half-attention most people gave, but with his entire focus, like her words were the most important thing in his universe. "You're the strongest person I've ever met," he said when she finished. "And I've met a lot of people who think they're strong. I don't feel strong. Most days, I feel like I'm pretending until someone calls my bluff. That's what real strength looks like. The fake kind is loud and obvious. The real kind is quiet and relentless, like water wearing down stone." He reached across the table, his hand hovering just above hers. Not touching, but close enough that she could feel the heat of his skin. "You make me want to be different, Amani. Better. I haven't felt that in a decade." Her breath caught. "June. I know I'm the last person you should trust. I know what I am, what I do. But when you looked at me at that wedding, really looked at me, something shifted. Like a locked door I didn't know existed suddenly opened." His voice dropped to barely above a whisper. "I haven't laughed in 6 years. Did you know that?" "Not really laughed. Not until last night, when you told me I was shorter than you remembered." Amani's heart hammered against her ribs. This was dangerous. So dangerous. But she couldn't deny the pull between them, the way her body leaned toward his like a compass finding north. "What do you want from me?" she asked. "I want to stand beside you. Not over you, not controlling you, but beside you. I want to hear about your day. I want to make you smile. I want," he stopped, jaw tightening. "I want to matter to someone. To you." The honesty of it gutted her. Here was a man who could have anything he wanted through fear and force, and he was asking, not demanding, to be part of her life. "I won't be controlled," Amani said firmly. "I've spent my whole life fighting for autonomy. I won't give it up for anyone, not even you. I don't want to control you. I want to watch you be exactly who you are. I won't look the other way while you hurt people. Then we'll disagree sometimes. I can live with that. This is insane. We barely know each other. Then let's change that." He finally closed the distance, his hand covering hers on the table. His touch was warm, solid, real. "Give me a chance. Let me prove I can be what you need." Every logical part of Amani's brain screamed that this was a mistake. But the part of her that had survived Kibera, that had built something from nothing, that had stared down a crime lord and demanded mercy for a stranger, that part whispered that maybe, just maybe, this was exactly what she needed. "Okay," she said. "But we take this slow. And if you ever lie to me, we're done. No second chances." The smile that broke across Joon-woo's face was like watching the sun rise, rare, beautiful, transformative. "Deal." They stayed at Mama Nairobi kitchen until closing, talking about everything and nothing. Joon-woo told her about his favorite childhood memory, his mother making him seaweed soup for his birthday. Amani told him about the first wedding she'd ever planned, how the bride's dress caught fire from a candle and Amani had put it out with champagne. They laughed together, the sound foreign and wonderful in both their ears. When they finally left, Joon-woo walked her to her car. "Can I call you tomorrow?" he asked. "You better." He leaned in slowly, giving her time to pull away, and pressed a soft kiss to her forehead. The gesture was so gentle, so reverent, that Amani's eyes stung with unexpected tears. "Sleep well, Amani Wanjiru." "You too, Kim Joon-woo." She drove home with her heart feeling too big for her chest, terrified and exhilarated in equal measure. When she checked her phone at a red light, there was already a text from him, "Thank you for tonight. You have no idea what it meant to me." She typed back, "Maybe you should tell me tomorrow. And the day after. And the day after that. That's the plan." The next 3 weeks were like living in a dream that Amani kept expecting to end. Joon-woo called every morning, his voice rough with sleep, asking about her schedule. He showed up at her events unannounced, always staying in the background but somehow making her feel safer just by being there. They texted throughout the day, random thoughts, terrible jokes, photos of things that reminded them of each other. He told her about the nightmares he still had about his parents' death. She told him about her fear that success was temporary, that one day she'd wake up back in Kibra and this would all have been a fantasy. He admitted he didn't know how to be in a relationship, had never wanted one before. She confessed she was terrified of being hurt again. They were honest with each other in ways that felt both terrifying and essential. On their 4th date, Joon-woo took her to a private beach in Gajang and they built a bonfire. On their 7th, Amani cooked Kenyan food in her apartment and taught him how to make chapati, laughing as flour ended up everywhere. On their 10th, he brought her fresh flowers from a market in Jagalki, not roses, but proteas, because he remembered her saying they reminded her of home. Amani was falling hard and fast and completely, despite knowing all the reasons she shouldn't. But on a humid Tuesday afternoon, 3 weeks after their first dinner, everything changed. Amani was finishing a consultation with a bride at a cafe in Siamayan when she felt eyes on her. She looked up to find a man standing a few feet away, younger than Joon-woo, maybe late 20s, with similar features but softer. Pretty where Joon-woo was harsh. Dangerous where Joon-woo was deadly. The bride excused herself to take a call, and the man slid into the empty seat across from Amani without invitation. "You must be the famous Amani Wanjiru," he said in perfect English, his smile not reaching his eyes. "I'm Kim Tae-sung. Joon-woo's brother." Every instinct Amani had developed in Kibra screamed danger. This man's smile was a weapon, his easy posture a trap. "He's never mentioned you. I'm not surprised. Family is complicated in our world." Tae-sung leaned back, studying her like a specimen under glass. "You're exactly as beautiful as everyone says. And bold, getting involved with my brother. That takes either courage or stupidity. What do you want?" "To warn you." His smile vanished, replaced by something cold and calculating. "Joon-woo is my brother, and I love him, but he's dangerous. Not just because of what he does, but because of what he destroys. Everything he touches turns to ash eventually." "That's not true. Isn't it? Tell me, has he mentioned Choi Soo-mi?" The name meant nothing to Amani, but the way Tae-sung said it, heavy with meaning, weighted with tragedy, made her stomach drop. "No. Of course not. Soo-mi was his fiancée 3 years ago. Beautiful woman. Kind. Pregnant with his child." Tae-sung's voice was clinically detached, making the words hit harder. "She was killed. Murdered as a message to my brother. And the baby, well. Joon-woo's world doesn't spare anyone. Not even the innocent." Amani's blood turned to ice. "Who killed her? Does it matter? The point is, everyone close to Joon-woo becomes a target. Soo-mi thought love would protect her. She was wrong." He stood, buttoning his jacket with deliberate precision. "I'd hate to see history repeat itself, Miss Wanjiru. You seem like a genuinely good person. Consider this your one warning, run while you still can." He left before Amani could respond, disappearing into the crowd like smoke. She sat frozen, her mind racing. Pregnant. Murdered. Joon-woo had lost a fiancé and a child, and he'd never told her. The bride returned, chattering about dress options, but Amani barely heard her. All she could think about was Soo-mi, about a woman who'd loved Joon-woo and paid the ultimate price. That night, Amani couldn't avoid it anymore. When Joon-woo called, she asked him directly, who was Choi Soo-mi? The silence on the other end stretched so long she thought he'd hung up. Finally, where did you hear that name? Your brother. He came to see me today. Tae-sung. Joon-woo's voice went cold, dangerous. What did he say? That she was your fiancée. That she was pregnant. That she was killed because of you. Another long silence. Then, can I come over? This isn't a conversation for the phone. 30 minutes later, Joon-woo stood in her living room, looking more shaken than she'd ever seen him. His usual composure was cracked, something raw and painful showing through. Soo-mi was everything I thought I could never have, he said without preamble. Kind. Gentle. She saw past what I did to who I was. We were engaged. She was 3 months pregnant when she was killed. Who did it? Rivals. People who wanted to hurt me by destroying what I loved most. His hands clenched into fists. I failed her. Failed our child. I swore I'd never let anyone get that close again, never give anyone that kind of leverage over me. And then I came along. And then you came along. He turned to face her, his eyes haunted. You terrify me, Amani. Not because of who you are, but because of how much I care about you. Every time I'm with you, I'm reminded that I have something to lose again. And the people in my world, they're always watching for weakness. Is that what I am? A weakness? No. You're my strength. But you're also the thing they'll use to break me if they get the chance. Amani crossed the room to stand in front of him. Did Tae-sung kill Soo-mi? Joon-woo's jaw tightened. How did you? The way he talked about her. The way he warned me. It wasn't concern. It was a threat. She reached up, cupping his face in her hands. He killed her, didn't he? I've never been able to prove it. But yes. I believe he orchestrated it. Tae-sung has always wanted what I have, my position, my power, my father's legacy. Soo-mi was just another obstacle to remove. Why haven't you killed him? Joon-woo's laugh was bitter. Because he's still my brother. Because some part of me hopes I'm wrong. Because. He closed his eyes. Because if I kill him, I become exactly the monster everyone thinks I am. Amani understood then, really understood, the impossible position Joon-woo lived in. Trapped between being the ruthless leader his organization needed and the man he wanted to be. Between family loyalty and justice. Between love and survival. I should walk away, she said quietly. That would be the smart thing to do. Yes. I should run back to Nairobi and never look back. Probably. But I'm not going to. She pulled his face down to hers. I'm not Soo-mi. I grew up in one of the most dangerous places on earth and survived. I built a life in a foreign country with no safety net. I'm not fragile, and I'm not helpless. If Tae-sung wants to come for me, he'll find out exactly what a Kibra girl can do. Something like hope flickered across Joon-woo's face. You're staying. I'm staying. But you need to be honest with me about everything. The dangers, the threats, all of it. I can't protect myself if I don't know what I'm facing. Tae-sung is the biggest threat. He's patient, calculating, and he's been waiting for years to take what's mine. If he thinks hurting you will destroy me, he won't hesitate. Then we'll be careful. We'll be smart. And if it comes down to it, we'll fight. Joon-woo pulled her close, burying his face in her hair. I don't deserve you. Probably not. But you've got me anyway. They stood like that for a long time, holding each other against a world that wanted to tear them apart. When they finally pulled back, Joon-woo's eyes were wet. I love you, he said. I know it's too soon, I know it's crazy, but I do. I love you, Amani Wanjiru, and it terrifies me. I love you too, she whispered back. And I'm just as terrified. He kissed her then, deep and desperate and full of promises neither of them knew if they could keep. But in that moment, wrapped in each other's arms, they chose to believe that love could survive anything. They were wrong. For days later, Amani left her office at 6 p.m., mentally exhausted from a demanding bride who changed her mind about the color scheme for the third time. She was halfway to her car when strong hands grabbed her from behind. A cloth pressed against her mouth and nose, smelling sickly sweet. She tried to fight, tried to scream, but darkness swallowed her whole. When Amani woke, her head felt like it had been stuffed with cotton and her mouth tasted like chemicals. She was in a warehouse, she could tell from the echoing acoustics and the smell of rust and old fish. Her hands were zip-tied behind her back, secured to a metal chair. Ah, she's awake. Taesung stepped out of the shadows, looking perfectly composed in a crisp white shirt and dark slacks. Welcome back, Miss Wonjiru. I apologize for the crude accommodation, but privacy is important for what comes next. Amani's heart raced, but she kept her voice steady. Joon-woo will kill you for this. Will he? Taesung crouched in front of her, his smile sharp as broken glass. That's what I'm counting on. You see, my brother has always been too sentimental. First Sumi, now you. He thinks love makes him strong, but it's actually his greatest weakness. You killed her. You killed Sumi and her baby. I removed an obstacle. Sumi was making Joon-woo soft, making him question our family business. And a baby? He laughed. A baby would have anchored him completely to domesticity. I couldn't allow that. Rage burned through Amani's fear. You're a coward. You can't beat him, so you attack the people he cares about. I'm strategic. There's a difference. Taesung stood, pulling out a phone. I'm going to call my brother now. He'll come running to save you, and when he does, when he's distracted and vulnerable, I'll take everything from him. His organization, his power, his life. And you'll watch it happen before I deal with you. He'll see through this. Probably. But he'll come anyway because that's who he is. Love makes people predictable, Miss Wonjiru. It's why I'll never make that mistake. Taesung made the call, and Amani heard Joon-woo's voice on the other end, tight with controlled fury. The conversation was short. 5 minutes, Taesung said. Come alone or she dies. After he hung up, Taesung set the phone aside and pulled out a knife. He didn't threaten her with it, just cleaned his nails casually, but the message was clear. Amani's mind raced. She needed to buy time, needed to create an opening. Her hands were tied, but her feet weren't. She'd survived Kibra by being smarter and faster than people who underestimated her. Taesung was making the same mistake. She slumped forward, letting her head drop like she was losing consciousness. Oh, none of that, Taesung said, grabbing her hair and yanking her head back. You need to be awake for this. That's when Amani struck. She drove her forehead into his nose with all the force she could muster. The crunch was satisfying, as was his scream of pain. He stumbled back, blood pouring from his nose, and Amani used the momentum to throw her weight sideways. The chair tipped, and she crashed to the concrete floor hard enough to make stars explode in her vision. But the impact snapped one of the chair legs. Amani wriggled free, hands still tied but mobile, and scrambled to her feet. Taesung was cursing, trying to stem the blood flow from his nose, and Amani ran. She made it maybe 20 feet before he caught her, slamming her into a concrete pillar. Pain exploded through her shoulder, but she twisted, driving her knee into his groin. He doubled over with a wheeze, and she ran again. The warehouse door burst open. Joon-woo entered like a storm, flanked by a dozen armed men. His eyes found Amani immediately, cataloging the blood on her forehead, her torn clothes, the wild desperation in her eyes. Then his gaze shifted to Taesung, and something in his expression went absolutely cold. Let her go, Joon-woo said, his voice deadly calm. Now. Or what? Taesung had recovered enough to pull a gun, pressing it against Amani's temple. She'd frozen when he grabbed her, knowing one wrong move could end everything. You'll kill your own brother. For her. Without hesitation. The certainty in his voice made Amani's chest tight. Joon-woo moved forward slowly, his own weapon drawn, his men fanning out to surround them. The warehouse had become a powder keg, one spark away from explosion. You always were weak, Taesung spat. Just like our father. Sentiment makes you soft. Sentiment makes me human. Something you never learned. Humanity is a luxury we can't afford. Then I'll pay the price. Joon-woo raised his gun, aiming directly at Taesung's head. His hand was rock steady. Last chance. Let her go. Time seemed to slow. Amani could feel Taesung's finger tightening on the trigger, could see the calculation in his eyes as he decided whether killing her was worth his own life. She made her choice. Amani drove her elbow back into Taesung's solar plexus, using every ounce of strength she had. His grip loosened just enough for her to drop to the ground. Gunfire exploded overhead, Joon-woo's men taking the shot they'd been waiting for. Taesung's gun clattered to the floor as a bullet caught his shoulder. Then Joon-woo was there, pulling Amani away from Taesung, his hands running over her frantically. Are you hurt? Did he? I'm okay, she gasped. I'm okay. Joon-woo pulled her into his arms, and she felt him shaking. I thought I'd lost you. I thought, his voice broke. Behind them, Taesung was being held at gunpoint by Joon-woo's men, blood seeping through his white shirt. Joon-woo turned to face his brother, still holding Amani close. You took Sumi from me, Joon-woo said, each word precise and cutting. You took my child. And now you tried to take her. He pulled a knife from his belt, the same knife Amani had seen him carry since they met. Give me one reason I shouldn't end this now. Taesung laughed, the sound brittle and manic. Because I'm your brother. Because family is everything in our world. Because if you kill me, you'll never be able to live with yourself. Joon-woo's hand tightened on the knife. Amani could feel the tension in his body, the war between vengeance and morality tearing him apart. She turned in his arms, placing her hands on his chest. Don't, she said quietly. Don't let him turn you into what he thinks you are. He killed Sumi. He tried to kill you. I know. And he'll pay for it. But not like this. Not with you losing yourself to give him what he deserves. She looked into his eyes, willing him to hear her. You're better than this. We're better than this. He doesn't deserve mercy. This isn't about him. It's about you. About who you want to be. She cupped his face, feeling tears on her own cheeks. I love the man who builds bonfires on beaches and learns to make chapati. I love the man who calls every morning just to hear my voice. Don't let him destroy that. Don't let him win. The knife clattered to the floor. Joon-woo pulled Amani close again, his face buried in her hair, his whole body shaking with the effort of choosing mercy over vengeance. Get him out of my sight, he told his men without looking at Taesung. Put him on a plane to anywhere that isn't Korea. If I ever see him again, Amani's mercy won't save him. Taesung was dragged away, still laughing like this was all some elaborate joke. But Amani saw the fear in his eyes as he realized he'd lost everything, his brother, his power, his future. Joon-woo cut through Amani's zip ties with gentle hands, examining the red marks on her wrists with barely contained fury. I should have protected you better. You did protect me. You came for me. I almost came too late. But you didn't. She kissed him softly, tasting salt from both their tears. We survived. Together. He pulled back, looking at her with such intensity it took her breath away. Marry me. Amani blinked. What? I know this is possibly the worst proposal location in history. I know we've only known each other a few weeks. I know I have no right to ask. He took her hands in his. But I've never been more certain of anything in my life. I love you. I want to wake up next to you every morning and fall asleep with you every night. I want to build a life where we don't have to be afraid. Marry me, Amani Wanjiru. She should say no. Should point out all the very logical reasons this was insane. They barely knew each other. His world was dangerous. They'd nearly died tonight. Every rational thought screamed that this was too much, too fast, too impossible. Yes, she said instead, because her heart had always been louder than her head. Yes, I'll marry you. But you're buying me at least 3 rings to make up for this terrible proposal location. The laugh that burst from Joon-woo was pure joy, and he swept her up, spinning her around in a warehouse that smelled like fish and gunpowder while his men tried not to smile. I love you, he said between kisses. I love you, I love you, I love you. I love you too, you dramatic man. 1 year later, Amani and Joon-woo sat on the balcony of their villa on Jeju Island, watching the sun set over the ocean. Amani's wedding planning business had expanded internationally, and Joon-woo had slowly been transitioning his operations toward legitimate businesses, hotels, restaurants, real estate. They weren't completely clean, and maybe never would be, but they were trying. Do you ever think about it? Amani asked, her hand resting on her slightly rounded belly, 4 months pregnant with a girl they'd already named Ji-woo. The text that started all this. Every day. Joon-woo kissed her temple, his arms secure around her shoulders. Best wrong number in history. I was trying to get Marcus's attention. And you got mine instead. Fate or coincidence? Does it matter? Not even a little bit. He pulled her closer. You saved me, you know. That night at the wedding, and every day since. We saved each other. From inside the house, they heard Joon-woo's phone ring, probably his legitimate business manager calling about the new hotel in Gangnam. Normal problems. Legal problems. The kind that wouldn't get anyone killed. Amani smiled, thinking about how far they'd come from that terrifying night when she'd accidentally texted a crime lord during ovulation. About how the worst mistake of her life had become the best thing that ever happened to her. Hey, Joon-woo said, tilting her face toward his. What are you thinking about? How sometimes the best love stories start with the absolute worst decisions. He laughed, that free, genuine sound she'd worked so hard to coax out of him. Yeah. Yeah, they do. And as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, Amani Wanjiru and Kim Joon-woo sat together, building a future neither of them had thought possible. Proof that sometimes, the wrong message goes to exactly the right person. If you made it this far, you're officially part of Amani and Joon-woo's journey. Smash that like button if you're as obsessed with their story as I am, and subscribe because I've got more intense Afro-Asian romances coming your way. Drop a comment telling me what you thought. Would you have taken the same risks Amani did? Should they have a boy or girl next? I read every single comment, and your theories give me life. Until next time, keep believing that sometimes the best love stories start with a mistake.